Right off the bat, I know all my friends are bitter that I lost the basketball challenge, especially against Sam Lechner. Screw her. But the rest of them, I mean, we worked together, but I think we all just got frustrated with Bruce in the end, because he was kind of telling us what to do. But besides that, it kind of brought the rest of us together as like a common annoyance in a way. So yeah, it was also cool to see the other tribes and be able to mingle with them a little bit between the challenges. It was a little bit of both. I played it off with Sam that I don't know her, and I feel like I bonded the most with people whose names I'm gonna forget once again. Shoot. Oh, I tried to get like one from each that I would gravitate towards. Yeah, I was just trying to float around, like not talk to my tribe as much as I can and mingle, and especially like get the rest of my tribe to do the same so it wasn't sketchy for me. I think we, like all three tribes were like, all right, this is ridiculous, let's talk to each other, so that was good. Bruce was mostly like control kind of thing. Like with the puzzle, he was just like declared like, Brendan, stop doing the puzzle. And with the fire, he was barking orders a lot, and a lot of the times I agreed with him. I wouldn't tell everybody else that because they were mad, but just like the way he says it, I think rubs people the wrong way and makes them like not want to listen to his suggestions, even if they're probably the right decision. Bruce at camp is a lot of like looking for idols and going off on his own. He always has to blow his nose, which means he goes all the way to the porta potty, which is pretty sketchy. But I tried to like talk to him more today because I feel like no one's making that bond with him. So I kind of wanted to see if I could be that person for him and see if he would tell me what he was feeling or anything. And he didn't really give me much. I think he might have saw through it anyways, because we had a good connection in the beginning, and then I don't know, he kind of he'll like call us out for things, but he's wrong in the call out. Like I think he was disappointed that nobody asked him what he does for a living, but it's because we already knew from past conversations, like one-on-one, that he's a priest. Like I could tell you everything about Bruce, but he then was like, oh, nobody asked me, and like calls out, but he doesn't realize that he's wrong or forgetting. I don't know, he's definitely going off on his own and stuff, so maybe that's paranoia or maybe that's oblivion, but I don't think we're gonna end up voting with this group of people, so I don't think it'll matter too much. It's just a matter of if we stay strong next and how Bruce plays into that. Yeah, so I think Jen has me as her number one person. I have Austin as my number one person, and she wanted to make a group of me, her, and Austin, but I kind of like the guy group better with Austin, Bob, and Dave, and Brendan. First of all, numbers, that's a better thing to work with, and I liked all of them in our interactions and stuff. Yeah, but it's good that I'm her number one. I'm not gonna try to target her anytime soon because she keeps giving me information and stuff, so she's good to keep around.
Yeah. So
and I like her. But also in that group with the guys, sometimes it's like just them, and it might just be because they're walking in the same direction kind of thing.
You mean like
but,
it's like just like the four guys and you, or
yeah,
three of them and you and
it'll
Austin?
just be like 3 guys or 4 of the guys. Without me, I'm like doing something else. So that kind of concerns me because obviously I stick out as the girl in that group of 5. So I don't want to join an alliance that I'm automatically the bottom on. Everyone's backup plan is Bruce.
Gotcha.
There's a chance he has an idol. Bob's pretty convinced he does. I don't know. I don't think he does because he keeps walking around and stuff. We could split because we're all on the same page. So we could figure that. I mean, obviously, if we're all on the same page, we can't say who we're splitting. But I don't know. We'd have to figure that out. Yeah.
Or like,
Austin's my number one. The ones who are kind of out are Bruce,
oh, you're right, yeah.
Jen,
Am I missing?
who likes me, and Christine. Yeah. Yeah.
So Christine's kind of just there.
Yeah, I don't really know what her deal is. She hasn't annoyed me, and she hasn't like been my best friend, so I don't know. I don't know what her game is.
Gotcha.
I don't know. I think it's gonna be weird with Sam, especially. I'm pretty sure Austin told us that he gave the.
Was she playing a surprise to you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Which apparently she like posted somewhere. I didn't freaking notice. But she. What was I say? Oh, Austin told our team that challenge where he got the thing in a bottle and you could give a reward to someone. He gave it to Sam, which is good because my number one ally likes Sam and he doesn't know that we have a thing. So then her squad and my squad can become a squad eventually, which could be good. On the downside, my Shrimp Hut and STC friends know that Sam doesn't need a freaking advantage because she's the most outgoing, social person and everyone loves her at first. I mean, they love her every time, but at least at first, like, to give her more power is scary. But hopefully she'll want to stick with me at some point. Oh, she's cutthroat. I know she's going to vote me out at some point, so I'm not afraid to vote her out at some point. But I think if we went into like a merge or something and I was like promise each other we're not going to vote each other out at least to like 5 or something. Like think of a number where it's like, if you vote me out before that, I'm literally going to be pissed at you in life. So that doesn't have to be till the end because that's not realistic and we're probably going to vote each other out. But my game plan is to give her a number and see if that's works for her. It's still light out, so I feel like there's probably one more thing going on. But I thought that before we started Confessionals, so now I'm not really sure, but going with the flow.
We want to reward are those boxes and had a reward capability, but it took us a little bit to realize that maybe there's one part of the note that goes to another part of the note, and so we came back. It just happened to be that everybody on the 2 rewards capability were all set aside while the other part of our team was doing the swap or exchanging of bartering. Oh, no, and all of a sudden we realized we're the 4 that had these clues. So we rushed back, we started looking for everything, we were zipping around. And then 2 of the guys went off and I kind of have a feeling that they found out what it was, but we're not sure. So I just was checking to see if I had one last little bit of what's going on. Have a note, not sure if it's going to do any good or if it's something to be used later. Well, it just happened to be that the 2 mixed groups that won their respective launching game happened to be 2 orange and 2 orange and then 2 blue and 2 blue. So unbeknownst to us, once we got all back, we're like, and it kind of has a clue that kind of lets you know that maybe there's another half to it. Did not find, but I have a feeling, and I'm trying to make sure that I'm in a positive mode. But I'd be bummed if my 2 buddies they got it or and left me out. So
Yeah.
I have a
Whatever you find,
tendency.
you find.
I should probably think about that a little bit more. That one was literally, I told them all, I had to get some water on my head. So they're right there. They could see that, but that was it.
Gotcha.
Well, I feel like our tribe has just been gelling. Obviously, after 6 or 7 challenges today, everybody's getting a little bit tired. But it's a happy tribe. Everybody's encouraging. Nobody seems to be hot-tempered or anything like that. Everybody's cheerleader. I feel closest to Bobby and David, and Rachel. And kind of working like on that. But I also know that when we're just doing everything, we're all cheerleading and we're doing really good like that. So I think on our end, the game hasn't really started on that side where everybody's trying to grab each other because there hasn't been any type of immunity challenges yet. But once that happens, then we're going to see who the people are.
Yeah.
Everybody's been
Challenge.
cheerleading. We were cheerleading last night. Everybody's going, we're all going to stick together. We're going to be, this is that, and this is the greatest team ever, and and all that joy and stuff. And we carry that on into today. Everybody gets along. Everybody's talking to each other. there's a couple people that are a little bit different, but other than that, it goes like that. I think Christine has a tendency to worry all the time, and she has a tendency just to talk about anything at all the time. And she's not as a capability in the challenges, but wants to be. And Jen has the same thing. So a lot of times they'll volunteer for something, and we can kind of struggle. But I didn't see anybody get mad at them, feel like, not once did I ever hear anybody go, why are we letting, her do that? It was always letting it happen. Well, my thing with Brendan gets very excited, and so we're doing the fire challenge, and all of a sudden he's jumping in, and they're literally throwing just sticks on the ground, not making a TP, and he's just so excited. And so I kept saying, calm down, it's this way. Now, whether or not I'm right or not, that's my mentality. So same thing with that. We made a decision that we were going to have 3 people do the puzzle, and then all 6 people were just trying to do the puzzle, and it got a little anxious. So I actually said, Brendan, you're supposed to step out. Probably overstepped my bounds. I can't help. Sometimes my leadership side steps in when it shouldn't. But on the other hand, I really wanted to win that challenge, and I felt like 6 people, no one could remember where they put something or whatever. But yeah, I have some thoughts about votes. I think it would be in that some of that, if we had to vote somebody off, you'd have to try to work at the weakest players, and if we had to stay strong and be able to do that and things like that. As far as personally, I like everybody, but the part of the whole game is to be able to outlast and outwit and have to move forward and stuff. It's got to be the challenge strengths right here at first, and then also just dealing with the trying to keep our cohesiveness and make sure our morale is good, things like that. Well, we're trying to figure out if because there was a lot of reward challenge, it seems like it'd be difficult to split people up, but we also know that in years past and seasons past that even maybe tonight there's going to be some type of mix-up. If not, it'll be tomorrow morning. So, what are we going to do? We don't have fire. We got an ember, but the group that brought the ember back, it was dead. So we have no fire, and so, which is fine if it's not raining. It's good. So we decided instead of having the tarp over us, we're going to lay on the tarp. Gotcha. I took advantage of that. Maybe too much. Maybe it's my natural personality is just to hobnob and say hi and high five. And obviously there was people that liked me, and I liked different people. And then it wasn't until a little bit later I thought, I wonder if it's coming across that I'm hobnobbing for strategic reasons, where some of that's my personality. I noticed that there was a point to where all of a sudden I was off staying in between, kind of going, okay, I'm going to get all this, and I saw like 4 people with that, and I go, wait, I got to get up. I should go over there. So I wasn't the first one of our team. Yeah. I almost feel like at one point somebody on our team said, hey, are the other 2 tribes hobnobbing? And we looked, and they weren't. And then when they were, some of our players got up. Well, I personally, with my personality, like the blue team. And so Anthony, Lance, a couple of the girls, I don't remember their name. There's one that's a huge extrovert. I can't remember her name, but I was like, oh yeah, that's a fun team. Which is like us. Where the maroon team, I feel like it was harder to get a read on them and whether or not they actually even like each other. Where I know the blue team likes each other, or teal team, and then our team likes each other.
Gotcha. So I think you mentioned that Bobby was one of your closer friends or allies out here, and anybody else, or you've seen like any sort of like group forming with you or with anyone, or?
Yeah, what I don't know, I feel like I've asked a couple times, hey, how are you feeling? What's going on? And I'm not really getting too much, but I also don't want to ask too much because part of me thinks that if I start going into the game mode in this early stage, that is paranoia. And so I'm trying to sit back And then in the back of my mind is, as long as we're strong for right here, a lot of those questions can be answered as the game goes along. But we definitely, at least as everybody's thinking, it's like we really like each other. We want to stay together.
Yeah.
Whenever we get back together later on after a merge or something. Yeah, I think everybody's strategy, mine would be to rest on my laurels, and that is, my feeling is to get into people's hearts and to get them to where they go, man, this guy is an encourager. I feel better with him around, things like that. That'll only get me so far. I'm not going to be able to carry on so much. So there's going to have to be, biting and backstabbing and doing those different things, and which I'm fine with. But that usually is whenever I play strategy games, whenever I do different things like this, it's usually get people to believe that, I'm as honest as can be. I mean, I'm an honest guy, but obviously it's game mode, that's different. And so now when I switch that over, I have to figure that out.
Gotcha.
It was a roller coaster. Last night we won our challenge. We won the best camp. We had 2 tarps. We had fire. We're kind of riding high going into today, and literally we were like in 3rd place every single challenge. We were in every challenge, but we were just losing by, it felt like a couple minutes, a couple seconds sometimes. Yeah, it was coming down to the puzzles, to the equalizers at the end of each challenge. Like, we were in it. We're actually a lot of times ahead. And maybe it was whoever was on the puzzle couldn't get it to put it together, or putting a fire together. And I told them too while it was happening, like, these things happen. Like, sometimes it's just a crapshoot. Like, sometimes the fire takes better. Sometimes the puzzles, you just put the things in the right places and boom, you're done in 30 seconds. Or you're not, and you just don't finish. I felt like we were in it. In my opinion, I don't mind, how it played out. I didn't want us to necessarily be challenge beast all day today and put this big target on our backs. I was, coming into this a little worried that, I'd be on a great team, and maybe I'm doing well, and it's just the other tribes just gang up as soon as we, start tribe swapping, or as soon as we, get together, they're gonna, start picking us off, would be threats. I didn't want to necessarily be in that position. I was a little bit. Obviously there was, looking back at some of the challenges, I sort of just blacked out and swam my hardest and tried to catch, the balls the fastest or whatever. But, I never volunteered to go on the puzzles or do things like that. Nobody ever talked about holding back. It was full throttle the whole way. I did my best to try to get us there, but I allowed us to fail. There was times where I could have stepped in a little bit more at the end and, pointed us on how to finish a puzzle. But, I think it's fine. In my kind of thoughts coming into this, I was fine with us, not just dominating all day. Not that, you can't always control that stuff, but I don't mind it. Well, we have some people that are physical. We have some people that are more cerebral. I tried not to hit it full throttle for my own purposes. I don't want to stand out too much, and I couldn't not do that. I wanted to have a couple moments today where I had some some of my own sort of glory moments and win something for the team. I didn't want to do it 7 times in a row. That wasn't going to help my game going into tomorrow. But I got my little moments today, and I think other people did too. And I was okay letting them, have their moments too.
Yeah.
It's for reward. I don't care. I was with Jen, yeah. So she was the shooter, and I got partnered with Anthony and Angela as the catchers, and we kind of regrouped before it started, and we said, all right, we're going to give you signs. This means shoot it long. This means shoot it short. I don't know from the audience if you guys could tell what was happening, but there was a couple of times where I told her shoot it long, and I ran to the front, and sort of the herd followed me, and then she just lobbed it to the back, and Anthony just
Gotcha.
switched right in his.
Yeah.
And it's easy to say you want to do that, but kudos to Jen. She was actually pretty accurate. So with me, Jen, Anthony, Angela, we've found a clue to something back at camp here. And I found the key and I found the box both for them. Not that it mattered because we were part of our team. But it was kind of in the nick of time. We only had 10 minutes to find it. And we did, and as soon as we found it, we both sort of agreed. They had their own note, we had ours, and we both said, we'll kind of keep this to ourselves. Well, the next challenge, basically, our teams reformed to the original tribes, and Bruce and Bobby kind of started coming over to me and saying, "Hey, did you find what we found?" And it was like, "Oh God, I hadn't thought that they might have been. I didn't even know who won on the other side of the field." So there was sort of some whispering. It made me really nervous. Like both Bruce and Jen are kind of loose-lipped. They're like really excited about it. I'm trying to whisper in my Bruce really. Bobby and I kind of like. I could tell something was up, and I'm like, I figured I'd just catch him later in the day. It was fine. But like, it wasn't a big deal. And Bruce was so excited about it. He wanted to keep telling me, "Oh, you got to go talk to Bobby. Bobby's got something for it." I'm like, I know, it's all right. And Jen was really excited about it too. And yeah, so at the end of the day, we had a bartering opportunity, and we nominated 4 people to barter for us, and we nominated the 4 people that didn't know about it. So. They went and bartered, and then it was just left with me, Jen, Bobby, and Bruce. I kind of, I knew it. I didn't want to make it like overly obvious, but and there's like little moments like that where they asked me right after, "What do you think about that?" I was like so smart. I'm like, no, I didn't even like it was our opportunity to be alone. So we come running back, and it was just like total chaos at the camp. There's the 4 of us that know like there's some clue there. Bobby and Bruce had their own information that to go look behind the fire pit, and ours was sort of a similar type of information. It was just like, it was chaos. It was just like running around frantically before the other 4 got back. Fine, we're running around with our heads cut off. We couldn't find anything. Gotcha. So I said, "Show me your note." Do you know I found it?
You found?
Yeah.
Found what?
I found this. I don't know what it says because I don't want to read in front of everybody, but I was running around frantic, and I found this little thing. And
so no one knows that you have this.
Bobby knows I have it.
Bobby knows.
Yeah, Bobby and I are.
Did you find it with him, or did you tell him?
No, I found it, and he was like running around with his head cut off, and I knew people were coming back, and I wanted to kind of slow the excitement down a little bit because they were like running around. Afraid all 4 of us gonna get busted, like running with our heads cut off. But I had it, and I went over kind of quietly as he's running around, and he said, "Let me read this to you. This is a immunity idol. It can be used at any tribal council at which at least 5 contestants remain in the game. Presented after the votes are cast, but before they are read." I was supposed to find a pile of rocks, 3 rocks, and then the thing was supposed to be near a tree. And when we get there, and Jen's running around and like finds a bunch of finds rocks and just starts like throwing them all over, like just, "No, they're not here. It's not here." And it's like that wasn't what the note said. And she had known what the note said, but there was a lot going on. So I was just looking near trees, obviously, and like there was this one tree that's right near our camp that I just looked, and there she was. I looked at it, and I kind of looked around, no one saw it, and I just stuffed it in my pants. And then I told Bobby, I want to go far with him, and this is probably it was probably a horrible decision for me to tell him, but I sort of felt like it was just building trust. I don't think he's going to turn on me, and I'm willing to use it for him. Hopefully he doesn't turn around on me. But it was kind of awkward where I said, okay, maybe, because the 4 of us are running around, I said, these guys are going to come back pretty soon. Like, someone go take Spot. I'm like, I'll go take Spot. And Bobby's like, well, I'll go with you. And then Bruce goes, whoa, you guys must have found it. Why would you both be? And so we kind of downplayed it, and he's probably on to us. But he's getting a lot of people are talking about him being first boot.
Bruce or Bobby?
Bruce. So we have we got a 5 out of the 8 right now. It's me, Bobby, Austin, Rachel, and Brendan. And then, Christian and Jen are kind of on the outside of that. I don't know if they know where they fall.
Okay.
Quick. And we haven't really had time. We're all everyone's together, and it's people don't want to go off by themselves because it's so obvious you're talking about something. So it's been hard to try to get people off to the side, but I had an opportunity during one of the challenges. Bobby and I were swimming out back and forth, getting a torch lit, and we were off on our own while the rest of the team was building a challenge. So we had time to kind of talk and talk about going the distance or going further, or sharing.
Has talk of like boats come up at all, or do you guys have any like plans for that yet?
Yeah, if we go tribal council, it's Bruce. This is my guess what the boot order would be at this point. Is subject to change. It could be totally thrown on its head tomorrow, but we're looking at probably Bruce and like Jen, Christine, and then there's 5 of us, and we got to figure out, from there. But yeah, we're talking about some of the early ones, and I mean, within the final 5, I would, in our team, I would think it'd probably be like me, Bobby, and Rachel, or me, Bobby, and Brendan. Out of our 8, if we go that far, and there's probably a chance we'd tribe swap
Yeah,
before
so
that.
that'd be like Austin on like the lower rung of that group of 5.
Probably, yeah. Him and Rachel are pretty close with each other. But this is going exactly how I wanted it to go, which is, I'm assuming, will probably blow up tomorrow on me. But I wanted us to have some like special team moments, winning rewards. I wanted me to have some of my own kind of moments of winning stuff for the team. The other guys were talking more with the other team members. I sort of let it happen. I wasn't like running over there to talk to them, and it's not a good look for me, who's to be running over where I'm already I'm afraid to have enough kind of perceived threats against me anyways. So like I don't want to like make it obvious I'm going and like mingling. And there's a few other people I recognize or I kind of know. Yeah. I don't know if they'd ever work with me in the game.
And you've been open about who your dad is and everything.
Yeah. So I got ahead of it, and kind of some funny stories about that. So like last night I got ahead of it. So a couple people were like just like mentioning Survivor stuff, and they're like, how do you hear about this? So I said my dad's Bob, and they're like, oh, that's cool. Anything can be a target, anything can be an acid or a target. And I had to get ahead of it because I already knew somebody else is gonna probably know that anyways. I'm like, who cares? I'd rather, like, if I get caught lying about it, like that's more of a risk. And lo and behold, and it's so great the fact that I told all these 7. They so during the day, a couple of them came up and said, hey, so and so just came over and said, hey, do you know that Bob Crowley's son? Just so in case he's not telling people. Like, so they're trying to get it. They were trying to like say, blow my spot up basically, and I get all my, my troops come back and saying, it's like, hey, dude, just so you know, Jason said that, you're Bob Craig's son, or William or Will. He was telling people. He came over and told Brendan, who promptly came over and told me. I'm not even asking them to come and tell me. Like, I'm not. It's not something I'm trying to hide from, or I'm asking for information. But it's sort of funny to know who's out there. It feels very targeting to me. Like, it feels like, why would they go and, hey, just so you know, in case he's not telling you his full truth. And like they go from being kind of the sneaky ones to looking like the idiots. Now they're, their spots are being blown up, right? Instead of saying, hey, I just like told you one of you guys on your teams, run around with all these secrets. Now they actually look kind of foolish for like both my team members told them like, yeah, we knew, we've talked about it. It's like not a big, what's the big deal? And they're like, oh, okay.
Whew, that's a light. And that's a good start. Yeah, so honestly, like, just got some aloe. Like, I just didn't put sunscreen like under my eyes because I always get sunscreen in my eyes. So I think like it just like got puffy.
Gotcha.
And then I mean everybody was obviously feeling it. So I really think that I was fine. But I mean, when you don't eat or sleep, like you're not gonna feel normal anyway. So obviously we didn't do as well as we wanted to. But I think that we learned a lot. That's really the best thing that I think can come out of it.
Or
strengths, weaknesses, just like stuff that could be useful in future challenges. Like one thing that, we did a lot of the stepping over and under for the ropes as opposed to having somebody go farther out and just like going around. Just like getting the mentality of, hey, we should try to step back and maybe think a little bit more about what we should be doing. But I mean, overall, like we had great communication, which was my absolute favorite part of it.
Yeah, like David's good or bad.
A beast in the water. David is a beast in the water. That like he's like, oh yeah, I know, I could be okay in the water, and just like he did the farthest, for the first thing, and then was first one back, and so that was a big standout. Christine, obviously we didn't end up finishing it, but she's good on puzzles, so that only really got to show at the end. But those two stood out good. And the reward scramble. So we ran out. Obviously, we thought that it was like, we're going to find some food item or something. That's going to be fantastic. Get out, read the note, find the key in the box. Found the key right away, which was great. Honestly, really like Steph and Lance. Like, I think that's going to be something that hopefully goes somewhere in the future. Yeah, so we found the clue. We didn't know what the clue was for. It just said, you can share this with your tribe, but, and then and then had a little blurb and said, this is only half of it. So, man, me and Bruce went back and forth a lot on what to do with that information, because Bruce isn't in my core alliance, and we also knew that David and Jen were on the other side of things, and David's in the alliance and Jen's not, so it's like, we weren't in the proper groups to like be like, oh yeah, we found this, clue, and let's share it among the alliance and do that. So I wanted to kind of leave it to Bruce, like, do we tell people, like, this might be a food thing, especially if it says share with the group, or do we keep it a secret? Well, when Dave and Jen came back, I knew that they found it, because they said the exact same thing we did. We're like, oh, we didn't find it, we found the key, but we didn't find the box. Like, alright, so they found it. Plus, like, like, I know that they would find it. Like, they're just a pair of people that would find it. So, we eventually were able to kind of pull them aside a bit. I talked to David during the fire challenge, because we were both in the water. So while we're waiting for everybody kind of doing their stuff, it was like, so how'd the Lord challenge actually go? And that's when we kind of talked about it. It's like, he's just like, we should decide as a group. I was like, personally, I'm in favor of telling everybody.
Like all 8 people? Or?
No, well, no, just, well, yes. And the reason was because Jen and Bruce weren't in the core 5. So you already have 7 out of the 8, you might as well make it a group.
Who's your core 5?
The core 5 is me, David, Rachel, Brendan, and Austin. This is where it's like, actually, like, I don't think the cameras necessarily knew what was going on.
Maybe no.
Well, so we, so it's funny. It was complete coincidence who we sent up to bar. Complete, like, just like, oh, Rachel and Brendan were like, oh yeah, we'll go, and then Bruce walked up, or sorry, who else walked up? Anyway, and then we're just like, kind of starting to walk back, and we're like, oh my god, this is the 4 that just went to do the challenge. I go up there and I'm like, let's kind of hustle back a little bit and at least find it, right? So if we could find it as a 4, and if it was a food item, just pretend we didn't look for it, wait for the guys to come back and be like, hey, we found this, let's look for it as a group. So again, David and I are in an alliance, and Bruce and Jen are not, but obviously we were paired separately. So we came back, figured out fairly quickly that well, no, actually, not really, but figured out that the clues should go together. And then David ended up finding it, told me about it pretty much immediately. And then just basically had to just, like, keep hunting. Like, I kept giving Bruce looks like, oh my god, find this before they do, kind of situation. That's huge. So, out of the core 5, I really feel, and I felt this way this morning and last night, that Austin, Brendan, and Rachel are kind of closer on the 3. So David and I kind of hit it off pretty well first thing. So I already felt like we were the close of that side. So for him to show that to me obviously meant that it was true, right? So he wanted to work with me. That was Rachel, Brendan, and Austin wanted me to pull in David. So I was kind of the 4th on them. And then me and Rachel kind of hit it off well early on, and I knew Brendan was up for it, so they said, oh, we'll bring in Austin. So it's like we're able to kind of bring that all together. To be honest, I don't think we've thought that far ahead. I'm going to kind of keep picking up my relationship with Rachel, and then Austin and I actually just had, maybe an hour ago, really, really good conversation, because we, honestly, I don't think we had said 2 words to each other. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm in the lines with this guy that I haven't even talked to. So we were just kind of going back, like looking for some firewood, and he's like, hey, we haven't had a chance to talk, really want to work with you, I feel like we have similar personalities. And then we ended up talking for like 15-20 minutes, and just really hit it off. So it's hard to say where I feel like I am in the alliance, but I think that we'll just take it slow, and there's a lot of game to get through.
Yeah.
So if we swap, the plan is to just stay Zica strong, right? Which is always the plan. But plan is to stay Zica strong, and then when we come back, vote people off. If we don't swap, or if everybody seems to make it, Bruce is the first that everybody's kind of talking about. Reason being is he's a great guy, but it's just like he's been a little bit difficult in challenges. He's very much more, I guess, the leadership type, where he'll kind of take a step back and be like, do this and do that without kind of like getting in it. And he can come across in the wrong way. And then on top of that, just he's a talker. So you don't want, if you're trying to share something with a group, right? If you do swap and you want to kind of bring him into your alliance, like, is he actually going to kind of stick with that? So actually it's shifted entirely. So my strategy was, I know this game is super fast compared to actual Survivor, right? So anybody that's just trying to be like, oh, I'm going to build up this
Yeah.
alliance.
How'd you find out about it, by the way?
Reddit.
Reddit.
So I post that was back in January. So
That's
I
me.
applied for that. Oh yeah? That's great. Oh yeah, actually, because the top comment is, you just said, oh yeah, I played, and somebody said, oh, it's so humble, you won.
Yeah.
I remember that. But what was the question? What was I talking about?
It's your overall strategy.
Oh,
in running the game.
right.
Yeah, sorry.
So my strategy is just to like evolve and be dynamic, right? Like understand that things change and just try to always be a part of the greater good. My original plan, when I got inside and saw that I was with Jen and Bruce, because Austin came later, that was going to be like the three, right? So Bruce and I kind of hit it off originally very, very well. I mean, and again, we still hit it off well. And same with Jen, but then as I saw that the rest of the tribe was kind of scooting away from Bruce, and Bruce was kind of taking on kind of like a solo kind of, lone wolf kind of situation, that we kind of need to readjust. So that's when I kind of like just made eye contact with Rachel and was just like, and she came over and like first thing and was like, I was like, oh, how you feeling? She's like, good. I just trying not to like just be alone at this point because people are talking. So like, well, if you don't want to be alone together, like we should do that. And that kind of just stuck a little bit. And then that's really how I feel like that 5 kind of spread out, because David and I feel like David and I hit it off because of sleeping together. Basically, neither of us slept a second. And that was a very odd bonding experience. I'm sure you feel the same, where it's like you don't talk to these people for 8 hours straight, but it's like, oh man, we just went through the exact same thing, and I know that you were awake just as long as I was, and I don't know. And then just him and I both also being strong in challenges, I feel like kind of like helped build that. So
Yeah, it's kind of a fun question. So I heard you mention that you're like a big like Game of Thrones fan.
yeah.
Who would you say you'd like most like to mimic your game off of if you had to pick a character from the book or the show?
I mean, I feel like the best person would be Tyrion, absolutely, right? So it's like the person that would be the underdog, or kind of like not seen as a threat in any way. So that's who I would like to be. I don't think that's who I actually am, because again, I want to do well in challenges, so I'm not gonna like bring that down, right? I'm not gonna do that. And then I do just feel like I, especially in challenges, kind of like want to take on more of a leader role.
Yeah.
Like, so actually I purposely stopped working out to not be a threat. I know it's kind of like, that was my plan. I didn't want to come in being like, muscly or anything, which I never was muscly, but like, it was like toned. So I stopped working about a month and a half ago. I'd run like once a week, but that was pretty much it. So just to like kind of lose some of the cut,
Okay.
to not be a threat. Now I want to be an asset, because an asset you'll take hopefully through the merge. A threat is who you're going to cut, like, you know, right pre-merge. So if I can get post-merge, you know, I think that I could. I don't know, still wrestling if I become a threat, but I just don't want to be. I want to be an asset, kind of from a challenge point of view, kind of middle of the road, be solid, be somebody that people rely on for the challenge aspect, but not somebody that they're going to be like, oh, we're only winning this because of Bobby, kind of situation.
Gotcha.
Excited to hopefully sleep. I don't know. I'm way more exhausted.
The
than
second
yesterday.
night's better, but it's like I think I got over my 3 nights. I think I got like 1 hour, 2 hour, maybe 2.5
Okay.
hours.
Honestly,
so.
I'd be fine with 2 hours. I think I got like 15 minutes last night.
Yeah, I think that I know like my eyes were closed, but I'm just like I don't think I'm sleeping. I'm just laying
Yeah.
with my eyes closed for like 2 or 3 hours. Yeah,
And just like, and then you start thinking about it, and then you're like, oh, somebody next to me is asleep, and then you're jealous, and then it's like, then you just start thinking about that.
Yeah. Then you're done. You're like, wow, like, I did that. So it'll be great.
Yeah, we don't have the tarp over us tonight, but I hopefully bring them well.
Oh man, so we came out this morning feeling so hot from yesterday. I mean, we had fire, we had 2 tarps, we had a shelter, we had food, we were high rolling, and then show up to the challenge today. I think we took like third, second, third, first, and then we just lost like a bunch more. So yeah, I mean, 4th of July, I'm thinking like probably gonna get something, maybe like a little food. But nah, man, I am starving. I am exhausted. I got nothing today. It was blowhard, but we're still here, so we're getting at it. Yeah, man, Bruce is just. I mean, there was a point in the chat like, Bruce is such an anomaly, man. Bruce, man, he is an anomaly. Like, comes out of the water and he's got like a fish blade on his nipple. I don't even know how that's possible. Like, I've never heard of that, and it's just only Bruce, man. But Bruce at these challenges would just stand in the back and just point, do this, do this, do this. And you know, we're all sitting there, we're all kind of giggling, staring at each other like, oh my gosh, this can't be real. And then this was the worst of it. We're doing the final challenge against the alumni who have come back. It was a serious shit. Like, I want a reward for this, you know? And this guy has the audacity to turn around and go and talk to the alumni tribe after they have won. Like, hey, what's up? Nice to meet you. While we're still in the puzzle. Like, I'm appalled. And then he has the even more of the audacity to turn around and say, hey, Brendan, stop doing that puzzle. So I'm, you know, right away, I'm not going to tell this guy, no, okay, put it down. I take a step back, and I think it was Mike, the, one of
producer.
Yeah. He came up to me behind me and he just shook his head, tapped me on the back. It was like comedy gold, man. I could not make that shit up. I was like, I didn't know if he had never seen the show or if he just didn't know, like, how he was coming across, but it was bad, man.
Yeah.
It was cringe.
It's bad in
God,
that
he's
camp.
just so lazy. I mean, literally less than 10 minutes ago, we're sitting in the camp. We're all sitting around the fire that we don't have. We're all kind of lounging around, whatever. And this guy, in dead silence, sits next to me, grabs my shoulder and says, you want to go off and take a walk and talk? Huh? What?
Did you just say yes?
Yeah, I said yes. I'm like, no, Bruce, I don't want to talk to you. Like, yeah, no, I said yes. So I get up, the rest of the tribe's like, ooh, and I'm like, oh my God, fuck. So I walk off with this guy, and I will give him this. The first thing that he said was, I apologize for how forthcoming I was earlier. I wasn't trying to be like your dad, is what he said. Which my dad doesn't treat me like that. But secondly, he asks, the next thing I'm freaking out about, man, is that no one's talking to me. He goes, is anybody talking strategy to you? I haven't heard anything. Right away, no, dude, I'm freaking out. I don't know what's going on here. And he instantly calls out David, calls out Bobby, calls out Rachel, and those are 3 people that I'm in an alliance with. So suddenly I'm realizing that I am in the middle of my tribe, and that is exactly where I want to be. Exactly where I want to be. I definitely think Bobby and David are a tight pair. Me and Austin are a really tight pair, but he seems way more tight with Rachel to the outside. Now, he could be totally playing me and I could look like the fool, but I really don't think it's like that. So right now it's looking like me, Austin, Rachel is a core 3 in the 5, and then from there it's me and Austin. I hope that's the way it goes. That would, unfortunately, even though I really like Christine and Jen, I just don't see myself going far with them. They're part of the older crowd. Bruce constantly gravitates towards them. It's just not something that I need for my game right now.
Okay.
Bruce went off to the bathroom, to the porta potty. He does this all the time too. He goes off to the porta potty, says, I'm gonna go blow my nose. Homie, we're on Survivor. Give us a snot rocket, man. Like, you don't gotta walk half a mile up this hill to go blow your nose. You're in the wild. Like, I just don't get it. So, yeah, I mean, when he went off, it was instant. We all just kind of looked at each other and we were like, Bruce, right? So, can't say for certain, but I could easily be the fool right now. I don't know, but I don't think I am. So, I think that's good for me.
Earlier?
Yeah, so that was when Bruce walked off because Bobby pulls us all aside and says, last night I was kind of awake and I saw Bruce go into our box, hold something up, put it away in his bag, and then walk away. Walk right back into the bed. So I'm thinking, okay, shit, they're all like, Bruce has an idol, Bruce has an idol. I said, why don't you guys just check his bag? So I went over and was like watching for Jen. Jen was like rifling through his bag. Bruce was like trying to go catch the other group that had gone off to talk. So it's like me, Jen, Christine, 2 people that I'm not aligned with, the people that I am aligned with drawing Bruce away, and then me keeping lookout while they're digging through his bag. So it was pretty, well done for a group of 7 to really dupe one person, because it was like a really big 7v1 effort at the end of the day. Reddit.
Reddit?
Yeah, I was a huge Survivor fan. I applied for many years, went on the online thing and said...
Saw my post.
Yeah, well, was it your post? Oh, man. Hell yeah. There you go.
There you go.
So I had a couple ideas coming in. First of all, the physical way that I prepared was I tried a 3-day fast, and I did it and it was okay, but I was constantly surrounded by like food, and I was in college and it was just like, oh my gosh, this is so ridiculously hard. But out here, I don't even have that availability. So while I'm starving, it's not like detrimental. Other than that, the other thing that I wanted to do was if I could find like a Denise-like player, like a really athletic, really level-headed, older woman, I wanted to align with her because I think it's sort of an unsuspecting pair. And Christine actually brought this up. She said, me and Jen don't feel like we can vote you out because we feel like you're my kid. So to me, if I could have found like a Denise and nurtured that and really fed that like kind of low key, probably would have ridden that out. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. The other thing that I realized was coming into a social game, nobody wants to get told what to do by a 19-year-old. It's pretty plain and simple. I don't think being 19 in Survivor helps you, but I can't let it hurt me. So what I have to do is I have to play up my adolescence. I have to play the dumb, stupid frat bro. Oh, how do you want to vote? Oh, okay. I want these people to write me off as a non-entity so that when the time comes where I can start moving freely and talking to people without people getting really worried, that's when I'm going to start making my moves. That's when I'm going to start building my resume. So we were talking about when they put all the tribes just kind of to mingle. So my whole approach was, if there's 3 of us tribes, I don't want my tribe to be like too overbearing to one of these other tribes. Like, I don't want to be the guy that's coming up to you like, hey bro, like, what you think about all this? I don't want to be that dude. So I really wanted to just go out there and listen to these people. I just wanted to hear what these people had to say. And they're sitting in mixed groups, of blue and red, and I just walk up the only orange, sit down. Oh, hey, I knew one of them from the bandana challenge. So, oh, hey, Becca, hi, how you doing?
Yeah.
And slowly this William kid, he's got blue hair. I think his name's William, right? Blue hair.
I know what you're talking about,
Yeah, I don't know. I think you guys can't tell me the names, but that guy, he sits down next to me, and he's like, "Hey man, what you know about David?" Like my tribe, David? He's like, "Yeah." He's like, works in HR. He's from California. Like, I don't know, man. And instantly he's like, "Bro, that's Bob Crowley's son." So in my head, like, he's already told us all this, so we all know it, and I'm just sitting there like, "Oh yeah, like that's pretty crazy, man." And he's, I filmed this last year. Like, I know how, I know he knows how this works. Like, you got to look out for him. And I was like, yeah. I honest to God, because here was what he followed up with. He goes, "So how's your tribe, like, dynamics, bro? Because, like, no one is wanting to talk game at my tribe, and it's really pissing me off." And so right then and there, I just kind of realized, like, this was an all-out scramble. Like, he's trying to plant seeds in any pot that he can get to. So I don't want to be like the guy that's connected to the dude who's scrambling for his life. Because from what I can tell, that tribe is pretty messed up. Like, there's some numbers being shaken around, because when we were at that barter situation, they literally almost sent 2 people from their tribe. Like, they were about to send 2 people to exile. So right away, the other 2 of the tribes that were like, no, not at all. The other 2 tribes are sitting there like, holy shit. Like, are these guys actually serious about that?
No, I'm kidding. All the fucking time.
But yeah, I was like, oh my God, like, they're actually going to send them to exile. They didn't end up doing it, but even within that 4, you could sense the conflict between all these people. It's just crazy. Like, how can you send 4 of your tribe mates to go barter, and you know that they're not on the same page? Mind-boggling. Like, I don't understand it. So I definitely think the Upon tribe is a little bit screwed. I liked Sam, and then Austin told me, he said, "Hey, I gave that advantage to Sam." And so what I'm thinking is, in a situation where, like, I get in a 3-3, 3 Zicas, 3 Kias, and Sam is there, if I'm with Austin, I'll let Austin, come out and say, "Yo, that was me. I gave that thing to you." But if it's not, and it's just me and 2 other Zicas besides Austin, I will probably approach her and say, "What did you get?" And instantly she's going to be scared. She's going to be frightened. She's going to think, "Oh my God, how many people know about this?" And that, in a way, can almost incentivize somebody to flip. Because if I tell her, "Yo, I'm willing to work with you. I don't want to out your secret. Me and you connected well the other day. Like, make a move right now. Like, I will help you." I really don't think her with an advantage is going to stray away from that. I really think she'll jump on it, because from what I observed just from earlier, she's very, very talkative. She's very open. She likes to be the center of attention in a group. And so for her, to say, "Oh yeah, I'm going to make the first move in this game," I really think if anybody, was to be able to get coerced, I think it'd be her. So hopefully I'm right. I don't really know her well enough to say so, but that would be the plan if I could make it happen.
It's crazy, because when you throw, okay, so the first day is like all kumbaya, everybody gets to know each other, and then you throw idols in there, or like clues, and like some people know about it, some people don't, and everybody knows what everyone's doing. So last year when we got a clue, it was for the group, and that's when all the paranoia set in and all that, and people going crazy. And so right now it's pretty hectic at the camp. Well, during the challenge today, the winners, 4 winners went to go do another challenge to find a box and a key, and then in that box was a clue to the idol. So we kept it to ourselves and said we didn't find anything, and went back to camp to look for it. But pretty sure a lot of people know about it anyway. Well, okay, so like, we weren't gonna tell Bruce and the other person Bruce and whoever was with Bruce looking, we weren't gonna tell them, we weren't gonna tell anyone about it. But then come to find out, David told Bruce about it, so then I had to be like, okay, I guess people know. So then when you have 1 million people that know something, it gets out. I wasn't, but I'm pretty sure that someone was. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Bruce.
Gotcha. Why's that?
I just have intuition,
Gotcha.
and that's what kind of does it.
Don't worry.
Well, yes, because we were all sitting over there talking about the idol, and Bruce was not around. So then everyone was like, well, let's go search his bag. So we ran over there, searched his bag. The other people stayed over there to look casual. And then Bruce started coming up. I think he was doing his confessional, actually, or something. And so when he started coming up, I told I'm so bad at names.
Someone.
19-year-old to box movie. Anyway, I told him to go and just like take him to like wash his hands or something like that. And so while he was doing that, I looked through his bag. I couldn't find the idol though. I'm pretty sure he has it hidden somewhere, or there might be one other person that has it. Oh, I absolutely have. Whereas last year, I mean, I didn't know I was gonna go when I did, but I don't know. I've kind of just stayed in my ground a little bit. Like I'm just going off my intuition, and last time I just didn't do that at all, like the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, I'm gonna do my intuition, and because it's never wrong. I mean, it's not, and that's the thing that I'm like, oh, okay. So, when I first met Rachel, I thought she was like standoffish or not very personable. But then last night, I really got to know her and liked her. But then today, like, was good through the challenges and stuff. But when we got back to camp, I may have shared a secret with her because I was trying to work with her in Austin, and so
What'd you share?
The idol clue.
Oh, okay.
So, anyways, that way we could find it. And then I ended up talking to Austin, and Austin was like, because he was talking to her about us three working together, and she's like, oh, I don't want to commit, to anything. So I was like, scratch that. So, so I'm not sure about her. Well, then the guys, the 19-year-old Bobby, no, the guys that Brendan, Bobby, I don't know. This is bad because I don't know their names, but if they were standing in front of me, I could pick it out. Anyway, there's a few other people that I changed my mind about.
For better or for worse?
Worse.
Oh, okay.
Like, it was all good there until tonight. And,
Gotcha.
and it's like, my intuition's like, X that person out, X that person out. I mean, these confessionals must be awful because I can't think of anyone's name. Catherine? No, that's not her. Wait, who's the other girl other than Rachel?
It's a C. Close.
I really like her too.
It's Christine.
Christine. Oh, okay. I knew it was so. All right, you knew who I was talking about. Okay, Christine. We kind of set up a deal today.
Like a ride or die twosome?
Yep.
Deal. Okay.
Yeah, because I can tell she's a real good person. She wants to fit in. She wants to fit in with somebody and have common ground with somebody. And she told me that, and so like we found common ground. So.
Yeah, Bruce.
Because he says the most ridiculous, like, he can be such a nice guy, but oh my god, today he made me so mad, and everyone else too. But
during the challenges or at camp?
Yes, like he says the most, I don't know, like saying things about people because, like, judging them, like, because of the way they are, because it's not the way he is, or like all of us girl, I can't even say it. Like, all the girls were like doing that rope challenge, and he said to all the girls, well, I'm so proud of y'all. You guys held that rope for a long time. I was like, it's a freaking rope. Come on, like, stop. Like, you're just being an ass.
Gotcha.
I think.
Step looks like for
A
you.
lot of people don't trust. I don't have an opinion yet, myself made up, but a lot of people don't trust Brendan. Is there a Brendan?
There's a Brennan, yeah.
Yes, they don't trust him.
You know which one he is?
Not the 19-year-old, but the other brown-headed one. Not the curly-haired one. Brendan. Wait. Who's Bobby? Okay, who's Brendan?
Brennan's a 19-year-old.
The 19-year-old?
Yeah.
Dang it! I didn't have it right. Maybe I did. No, that's it. Anyway, that's why I don't have an opinion yet, because I don't know what the heck I'm talking about.
Today, yeah.
Well, I see myself playing out with my intuition, but I am also I guess I've been known to be more like of a like nice, like sit back and just be nice, you know, whatever kind of person. But this past year I've kind of been, no, I'm not that anymore. Like I stay my ground. So people's personalities, if that aren't what they really are, angers me anymore. Like I let them know about it.
Gotcha.
During the challenge, like the rope challenge, like he just stop everybody, and like, I mean, if he could stop talking for like 5 seconds, we might actually win a challenge because he wastes all of our time. And the fire maker challenge, oh my gosh, I mean, like I had to walk it off. Like I had to. He's spider. I don't want to smash him.
Gosh, I'm trying to think for sure. You know, I realize, so I'm part of the RHAP, Rob Has a Podcast patron group. And even though there'd been some patrons that competed previously, I think it really was 2017. It was posted in the patron group with a link to watch everyone live. And I did. And then I had gone back and I watched some of them then, but I just was not in any kind of shape to participate. So I tried to talk my personal trainer into it, and she's like, no. and this year it was like, but I'd originally heard from the patron group about it. Real strategy, okay. And it's posted as a public post on Facebook for anyone who wants to see, unless I die out here and have it removed or something.
Okay.
It's a Facebook post, but I was like, here are my 5 things. Don't die. Don't get maimed. Don't embarrass my friends, family, coworkers. Don't embarrass myself. Win.
Don't get memed. That's a good one.
Yeah, maimed is important. So, I mean, for me, like, coming into it was like, could I actually do this? There was a lot of reasons I didn't think I could. So for me, I really felt like it was important just to push through and see. And then once I started having to make the 15-second video at the end, it's like, here's why I'm going to win. I'm like, but I don't think I'm going to win. And then I, like, hemmed and hawed and did it a million times. I'm like, I could win. Yes, I'm still alive. It's interesting, we're called Zica, and I'm covered in bites and scrapes and scratches. Nothing that antihistamine and stuff won't hurt or help. But surprisingly, I mean, unless people are lying to me, I think the fact that right now we have a common target on our tribe has really alleviated anything for me. Bruce.
Okay.
We were really the quintessential kumbaya tribe last night. We had 2 tarps, we had a fire, we were all looking at the sky when there wasn't much rain and saying like, wow, I can't believe we're here and we're doing this, and like, is this too good to be true? And John helped bring us back to reality today, and we went, oh yeah, we're doing this. We're filthy, we're covered in scrapes and bites, and we have 1 tarp, no fire. Well, so throughout the day of having challenges, I mean, it probably didn't help things that we only won 1 challenge, we came 2nd place 1 challenge. But the biggest problem we were having was Bruce, like, not like letting us focus on what we were doing, and he wasn't really being helpful. There were things we were doing that I think could have won a competition, especially we had the one where they had to go and get fire from the pond and bring it back and dump in. They were having a really hard time on our side trying to get the cauldron or whatever of sticks lit, so that was a problem. But Jen had built this really nice structure and had left an opening to burn, and like Bruce like knocked it all down. I was like, that's not gonna work. He just wouldn't just stay away. And then she was trying to work on an ember from one of the failed attempts and really get it going, and like he just wouldn't leave it alone, and she really seemed like she had it. And then we had this idea when they brought back the cauldron, what if we would just like tip it and let the fire kind of fall out? And he just kept saying no, no, no. And then the tribe that won, Upan, they did exactly what we were trying to do. And I was one of the stick retrievers. So for me, we weren't allowed to touch or do anything. So it was just very painful to be helpless. And
Gotcha.
I mean, because there's definitely been some pairings off in discussions
Gotcha.
of who we might want to work with, and just sort of a strategy so that as a tribe we'd have the most so that we can come back as a tribe at some point in the future. I think we had this one challenge where we all got broken and scrambled to compete as an entity for one challenge, and I think that really showed how we paired up. And so I paired off with Brendan. It was sort of like the youngest male and the oldest female, and just seemed like we were all on the same page with who we were trying to gravitate toward, except whoever kind of got well, Bruce hadn't like upset anyone. So the conversation has certainly been Bruce. Like throughout the day, he was telling the other tribes information he shouldn't have been telling them, and he was.
Oh, like what?
There was a point where we were doing the challenge where the alumni stole our puzzle board, and we got theirs. And that was frustrating, but when we were doing that, he was like wandering off to talk to other people, and we're like, dude, like, shut up.
Like
Get
other
back over."
tribes at that point?
The other tribe that was standing right next to us.
Okay.
Some people, and we're just like, stop. And then there was a point where we were in the clearing and we were talking to people, and he just said, he's nice, he did really well at a couple challenges, but he just says some things that are like, so, but Jen pulled me aside for a bathroom break. That wasn't really a bathroom break, and so she asked, but and then Rachel needed to go to the bathroom, so we talked, and that was the first time I've really had a chance to talk to Rachel. But in my mind, because we have 3 women and we have 5 men, it just seems important. Here's my thought, right, is that if we have to pair up, I want to make sure all 3 of us women are paired up with the strongest 3 men, because
Who would those be in your mind?
definitely David, for sure. It's kind of a toss-up between Austin and Bobby. And then, I say Brendan, but just because I work really well with him. I don't know if it's because he's a year older than my child, that I just felt like trustworthy. And we talked too, and we were like, we're good. Like, if we get like together, like, we're good. And I felt pretty good about that. And for the people that have taken me aside to want to make any kind of arrangement, I was told my name hadn't come up except for one time, and it was to say I was very trustworthy.
Gotcha.
So I shared with them that I was a military veteran, something I thought I was going to hide. In a small group of them, I shared my spinal injury with and all of my history. I thought I was going to keep that, but I could tell that it felt like I was holding back, and I didn't want people thinking I was sketchy. So when there was a small group of us, I shared really well. I don't know what's being discussed back at camp, but they were very much like, wow, you did really well out there for having, like, I was in a wheelchair.
Okay.
I didn't want to tell them because I didn't want to be considered a liability. I didn't want to feel like, oh, now I can tell them, like, oh, I'm in excruciating pain. I was on pain medicine for 23 years. I went off of it for the first time ever. I've been off it for months, like 2 months now, to prepare for this, and I realized I don't need it. Today, I'm questioning some of that, but it was good.
That's fair.
So I didn't want them to be like, oh yeah, she's probably like injured, we should get rid of her. So, I didn't want to like be complaining about pain, and I thought, well, if I don't tell them, then I should not like complain about pain, just keep it quiet. I think I was awful. I'm just thinking that my family and friends are cringing watching me. Yeah, I think I was pretty. I mean, it was good that they were good at assigning me the like least important stuff to do, and I appreciated that beyond words. And I did what I was supposed to without like hindering. The biggest problem was I don't remember what it's called, but where we had the 8 spokes of the wheel and we had to put the block, and that really was that every time we'd get to a certain point and Bruce would like tell someone something and they'd lose focus and lift too high, too low, and the whole stack would come. But then he had a good idea of staggering the blocks, and we came in second. So we kicked butt last night in the challenge and won that one. We just maybe got a little too secure in how things were going.
Gotcha.
I'm so glad that I did this. This was amazing, and I am extremely out of my comfort zone right now. I love air conditioning and indoor plumbing and no bugs, and it's like, okay, because we're all in this together, which is kind of like back how my Army days were. It's like when everyone is equally suffering, you just get bonded over it and you kind of forget about it all, and it's really helping. And whoever said like sharing food, this primal thing, it really does bring, and we've actually had a lot. But that's the other thing is, like, Bruce will not shut up about being hungry and wanting food and food and food. And I'm like, look, I'm not hungry. You guys could have my food. Like, I'll have a little of it, but the bigger guys have done a lot more physical than I have. So I feel like, look, I'm little. I've barely done the physical. Take my food. We're good.
So the challenges today, it was, well, I was hoping it would get off to a good start. We had the shooting challenge first, and me and Rachel were really looking forward to that one, with both of us sort of being the two basketball players on the team. We just couldn't get the last shot to go in, so we ended up losing, so that felt pretty shitty. And it was pretty much a signal of things to come for the day. I mean, we got second in like 2, maybe first in 1, but overall, as a tribe, I was sort of disappointed in how we did. But I mean, that's the game sometimes, and at least it's just rewards, and we weren't having to go to tribal, so just got to bounce back from it tomorrow and start over and have short-term memory. I mean, there's definitely been talks, and there's sort of a 5-person alliance going on right now between myself, David, Rachel, Bobby, and Brendan. And Brendan was sort of the one who approached me with the idea about it, and obviously I'm gonna say yes. And I mean, I still think there's gonna be a swap potentially before then, but if not, just roll with that 5. And there's sort of the consensus on the tribe that if we do end up going to tribal with this tribe, that Bruce will probably be the first person voted out. Pretty much everybody on the tribe, except for Bruce, is annoyed with Bruce. He definitely rubbed people the wrong way, a lot of people the wrong way during multiple challenges today.
Yeah, how so?
It's Bruce's way or the highway with him. I don't think he necessarily realizes he comes across like that, but it's just during the fire making challenge, Jennifer was trying to do it one way, and he was like, no, you can't do it that way, you can't do it that way. And then when we got done with the challenge, he was like, oh, we should have tried to build our structure like the other tribe was. And Jen's like, that's what I was doing. And he was like completely ignored her. And then during the last challenge, with the puzzle, making the square, like, obviously, yes, it's good to have 2 or 3 people working on the puzzle primarily, but he was like off talking to the other tribe that had already finished, and then he'd come back and he was just like, Brendan, you need to get out of there and stop doing the puzzle. Just little things like that throughout the day. During the stacking the blocks, he was just being Bruce, and it was a lot to deal with today. So yeah, pretty much. He's a super nice guy. Like, we've all admitted he's a super nice guy. I think he actually pulled Brendan aside a little bit ago and apologized about the whole thing with the puzzle. But so he is a genuine guy and a nice guy, but just in the game, you don't want to have to deal with something like that all the time. I'm actually very ready for a swap. I feel like, I don't want to say I have my finger completely on the pulse of where things are at in this tribe, but I feel like I have a pretty good sense, and I don't like the way that looks for me long term. I mean, we have the 5, and like, I'm close with Rachel, and then I really trust her. Brendan, I don't know, from the second I met him, like, he's come to me and told me that I'm his number 1, and like, we got this to the end. Don't believe that at all. I don't trust Brendan as far as I could throw him ever since the second I saw him.
I hate buzzing bugs so much. Sorry.
No, you're good. But I haven't really trusted Brendan at all since the moment I saw him. I've been trying to talk with David more one-on-one, just get a better feel. And I do really like Bobby, and me and him had a good talk once we got back from the challenges today. And I feel like me and Bobby are very similar, that we're sort of more like quiet, laid back, reserved, like we're in camp life. And so I don't know, we had a good conversation. And then I have been trying to connect more with Christina and Bruce, just in case there's a swap before we go to tribal or in any scenario, and I end up with them and none of the people in the 5 that they'd still want to work with me. And then I have a really good relationship with Jen. Jen and Rachel are probably the 2 people I trust the most right now in the game. I know Jen's kind of freaking out right now that people are wanting her out. So just trying to keep her calm and keep her level-headed, and ideally I'd end up in a swap with David, Rachel, Jen, and Bobby. So I mean, the people that I know from being in the LRG community before is Lance on the Kia tribe, and then Donna and Jason, I think, on the Maroon tribe. It's just what we call them. I thought it was very interesting that Jason came up to me and like immediately was like, "How's Master Crowley?" And I was just like, fine. And he was like, "Does everybody know? Has he told y'all who he is?"
Is it Master Crowley is what you call him?
Yeah, that's what he called David. And I was like, yeah, like he told everybody yesterday. And he was like, "Oh, okay, good. Because everybody already knows who he is." And I was like, all right, whatever, dude. Which I came into this not wanting to tell people that like I've played live games before, or that I've helped out as a volunteer at Survival Challenge in the past. So when I saw him, I was kind of like, oh gosh. And when he said that, but fortunately there's some other people apparently that he's like said, "Oh, I've seen you at a casting call before." So that's just the route I'm going, just saying I've seen him at an open casting call before, the one that was down in right by my hometown a couple months ago. And then Donna, if there's a chance and it's right, I would probably work with her. And then Lance is like the closest one for sure by far. But me and Lance, like we've always had an understanding in live games. This is the 3rd we've played in the same one. Like we have an understanding, like yes, we're very good friends, but at the end of the day, we're not gonna throw either one of our games away to help the other person just because we're friends. Like we understand it's a game. So I actually, at the matching challenge today, I actually got the large matching bottles, and so I got the message and I had to give an advantage to someone from the other tribe, and immediately it was kind of like, oh, like I'll just give it to Lance, but I was like, no, like I don't want to just base my game on the relationship. So I sort of thought about it, and Sam's somebody that I really like, just from sort of the few interactions we had with the other tribes today. She seems like a sweet girl. She doesn't seem too much like a gamer, so I'm hoping that it can be something where I hopefully get on swap with her, or in the future at the merge we can come together and I can sort of talk to her and just build off that connection of sending her an advantage in the game.